Good day, good day.
Hello, Bashar. I'm so pleased to be here with you.
We are excited to interact with you as well. What would you like to discuss?
Okay, so my first question to you is in the past year or so, I've been dealing with a lot of fear around my business and
Oh,
really
all
my
right.
ability to create success on my terms. Because ever since leaving my corporate career where I was very successful, I've been trying to find my path, and I feel like I finally found it. But because I haven't been able to recreate that success and make money doing what I feel is my calling, I often have this like fear and lack that I'm
All
stuck
right.
in.
All
No
right.
matter,
All right. All right. We understand. We understand. You're bringing too much insistence into your dream. In other words, you have a very limited idea of what success means, and you have a very limited definition of what abundance means and support means. Are you willing to open up to the idea that there are actually many ways in which you can be supported in your new endeavors?
absolutely.
Then stop insisting that money is the only way, because it's only one way. There are many ways, many forms of abundance that could be supporting you if you would relax your insistence on how you think it needs to look in order to be, quote unquote, successful. Because if you have a very limited definition of what success is supposed to look like, then you're going to be very limited in your success because you won't allow for a broader definition of what success could look like. You're insisting on a particular path, and maybe not every aspect of that path you're insisting on is actually the path you need to take. So broaden your definition, first of all, of abundance and support. Money on your planet? All right, yes. It's one representation, one symbol of support, but it's not the only one. Being given a gift is a form of abundance. Having something to trade is a form of abundance. Synchronicity is a form of abundance. Imagination is a form of abundance. Communication is a form of abundance, because in imagination and in synchronicity and in communication, many different ideas can come to you that you may not have thought of before that might actually relieve you of the need to have other things you thought you needed in order to experience the idea of being successful. And of course, the true definition of success is simply being yourself as fully as you can, allowing synchronicity to guide you in the directions you need to go, realizing that there is a green light and a red light synchronicity that is functioning to guide you, in the sense of green light meaning here's a synchronous opportunity you are able to act on. Here's something you are not able to act on right now because it's not your ideal path at this moment. So when red light synchronicity says stop, don't act on this, you're not able to act on this, look around for the things you are able to act on that are representative of your passion to whatever degree they are, and act on those next. That's what guides you to act on the things that are representative of your passion, when other things that may still be representative of your passion are not able to be acted on because synchronicity is saying, no, not now, not yet. You have to trust the way synchronicity unfolds in your life, relax your definitions of abundance and support, and expand your definitions of what can support you. Think outside the box, as you humans say, and not be too insistent on the path you've laid out as the only path that can allow you to experience the success of your joy, your passion, and being your true self. Is this helping?
It is helping, yes. And I feel like, I mean, you've just answered it. I think that's what's keeping me from fulfilling really my potential, is just being too rigid, I guess, on the
Yes.
definition of success. And to,
You can have a plan. It's fine to have a plan, but your plan has to include the ability to alter the plan
okay.
when synchronicity shows you that it needs to be altered. You have to trust the timing of things, not the time, the timing. Does this help?
Yes. So do you have like an example or something like I feel almost, I guess, practical, because of all of the years of conditioning and having to do certain things in a way, I realize there is a journey, that needs to
Yes.
evolve, and I need to evolve into.
All
How
right.
do you say that?
All right. All right. All right. All right. Have you heard us tell the story about the photographer?
I'm not sure if you can
All
just
right.
say.
This is something that happened very briefly in your physical reality. as you say, practical, so that you understand it on that level of your consciousness. A photographer who's a friend of the channel, her passion, her dream was to go all around the world photographing the sacred sites. You know, the pyramids, Stonehenge, those kinds of things. You familiar with that?
Yeah.
And create beautiful photographs of those places. Now, she didn't have the money to do this, but because she understood how to go beyond what most people would think of as practical, she stayed in a positive state and trusted that synchronicity would bring her some inspiration to act on that would be more representative of her situation. And so she was inspired to come up with what most people would consider to be a crazy idea that would never work, but she didn't let those definitions stop her. So her crazy idea for flying all around the world and photographing these sacred sites was to go to the airline and ask them to fly her around the world for free. Now, she understood that there has to be some sort of an equal exchange, and she knew that one of the forms of abundance is trade. What did she have to trade? Her skill as a photographer. So she went to them and said, here's my proposal. I'm asking you to fly me all around the world for free to these different sacred sites when you travel to those areas, where I will take these beautiful photographs that you may use in trade in your brochures to attract more tourists to fly your airlines. The airlines said yes. Not only did they say yes, they paid her to do this, put her up in the best hotels, fed her the best food. She flew around the world like a queen, made money, lived her dream, all because she was not so rigid that she would say, well, I just don't have the money, so I guess that's the end of that. She allowed herself to stay in a positive state that allowed her to perceive the inspiration of having the crazy idea to go to the airlines and ask them to fly her around the world for free in trade for her photographs. That's a practical application. And that's the application you can experience, because that's how life works when you allow it to, instead of forcing it into a rigid path where it then cannot allow you to even be inspired to have the crazy idea that might in fact just work for you perfectly.
Thank you. Thank you. So, and my next question is about relationships. How do you, because the more I feel like I work on myself, the more difficult it is for me really to have normal relationships.
Lose that definition. Why should it be more difficult? Would there not be a situation or a relationship that would ideally match what it is that reflects your preferences? Is that not available anywhere in reality for you? Are you so removed and disconnected from reality there can be no such thing as a relationship that would be perfectly matched to the things that work for you?
I'm sure they are, but I'm just...
No, you're not. That's the point. You're not sure there is. That's why you're saying, I think that would be very difficult. You're creating the difficulty by having such a limited version of the idea of what a relationship can be in your life.
Right.
So no, you're not sure. That's the point.
Right. Okay.
Then you
So
have to relax that definition and say, I know there must be, by definition, because I exist here, and if relationships in this life are something that's important for me, then by following my passion, I know for a fact that there must be relationships that are perfectly matched to my needs as I would be to their needs. There has to be such, or I would not be here. So you have to allow yourself to realize that synchronicity will bring you, in perfect timing, those relationships that work for you to help you learn more about who you are while you're doing the same for them, and allow that to be a real probability for you. Just relax into the knowledge that that has to be true. Otherwise, you're creating a definition that simply won't work for you.
Right. And then how do you navigate through the existing relationships, which you feel like you kind of have nothing in common with people who've been in your life for so long?
Then let them go. Why do you keep them in your life if they're no longer compatible with who you prefer to be?
Their family.
So what?
Okay.
So what? The most loving and honest thing you can do is show them who they are dealing with, who they are in a relationship with, by honestly choosing who you really are and letting them decide whether they want to maintain a relationship with you or not. Because if you simply stay in a relationship by not being who you truly are, well, you're being dishonest, and they're not really in a relationship with you anyway, are they? Not the real you.
That's right. That's right.
Therefore, again, look at how you define these things. Be honest within your definitions about what's going on, and realize that showing them the consequences of their choices relative to who you actually truly are is the most loving thing you can do for them, whether they realize it or not. Let them make the decision to change to match the vibration of your preference to be in a relationship with the real you, instead of perpetuating a false relationship with someone you're not, which is not a very loving thing to do.
That's great. Thank you so much. It's really been helpful. Thank you for your time.
Right. You are welcome. Aveo.
Thanks.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Abzair and I'm from Portugal. Well, so my question is, I would like to talk about Ocho, the Buddha. Well, he was constantly saying to live without any belief. It is possible to live without any belief at all in the unconscious mind, and having the unconscious mind totally empty. And I would also like to know about the meditation taught by Ocho. He says to, when you meditate, stay fully alert, aware, and observe the mind and the body like it weren't you. Does this meditation bring us back to our original vibration or essence frequency? Thank you, Bashar. Shiva E.
It can. And what is meant from the Buddha by saying live without belief is the idea simply of going back to the essential self in a neutral state, so that you can be a clear conduit for whatever needs to be expressed through that individual to experience physical reality as the theme they chose to explore. As a physical being, you will, in some sense, have a belief. You'll have a belief that you're physical. You'll have a belief that physical reality seems to be somewhat real and solid. But this doesn't necessarily impede you from going back to a neutral state where the beliefs are not necessarily as paramount as simply knowing who you are. We have long said that knowing supersedes belief. It is above and beyond the idea. So knowing who you are puts you in that state where you're not necessarily at the mercy, so to speak, of your belief system, but are moving beyond it to just know what you need to know to be who you know you are. Meditation can do this. It's up to the individual to decide if that's a permission slip that will work for them.
Is there any way we can talk to our higher mind directly, like in a conversation, or can you teach a permission slip to help us do so?
All right, two things. Number one, remember that a direct conversation is being had when you receive energy messages from the higher mind that translate as the sensation of passion in your body. And by acting on that passion, because action is the language of physical reality, you are talking directly back to the higher mind, saying, all right, I heard you, and I will act on what you have given me. That is a direct conversation, and that's the most natural way that it can occur. However, number two, as we have often said, when you are speaking with us, you are actually speaking with your higher mind, using us as a reason to speak to your higher mind in a way that you're used to having conversations. So in that sense, you're speaking to your higher mind right now. And any other being that can perform the function of functioning as a mask for your higher mind can allow you to have a typical conversation with your higher mind in that same context. You can even, again, use us as an excuse to talk to your higher mind by saying things like, when you find yourself challenged, what would Bashar say? What would Jesus say? What would Buddha say? And you can, in your imagination, then have the conversation if you truly understand what kind of response such beings as myself and the others would give to you. then that can actually be a response coming from your higher mind, again, using us as a way of triggering the conversation that you can have with your higher mind, pretending that you're talking with us. Because we are happy to form and function as a representation of your own higher mind to make it easier for you to know that it's easy to connect, it's easy to have a conversation. But going back to the first idea, it's a much more natural way and a much more fluid way, and it keeps you moving through life to simply accept that the more natural conversation between you and your higher mind is one of receiving the information in an energy form that allows you to feel the passion that gets you to move forward and take an action in that direction.
And the level of the higher mind that you're describing, that you can have these conversations with, what would be the frequency range of that consciousness level?
Above 333,000 cycles per second.
All the way up to?
Well, it depends. The higher mind can have quite a large range to it, depending upon what it needs to adjust its frequency to tap into information that the physical personality may need. It's not, however, unusual for the general range to be, and we understand that this appears in your reality as a kind of a multiple synchronistically, but it can go from about 333,000 cycles per second, normally, generally, with exceptions, up to about 666,000 cycles per second is usually all that's necessary. Beyond the 666,000 cycles per second, you're now getting into the range of the soul, which can go up to about 777 cycles per second, thousands, of course. And then the oversouls are usually above 777,000, maybe up to 999,000. And again, these are all convenient figures for you that relate to your physical reality as you understand how vibrations exist hierarchically to represent different levels and layers, and there can be different ways of looking at this. So don't get stuck on these numbers. We're giving you a generalization in the same way that you could say, well, where does the air end and where does space begin, or where does water begin and ice begin? There's some fluidity to these barriers and these gray zones, so to speak, as to where transitions are made. But I'm giving you a general understanding of these things that can serve you in the way that you need to be served for now.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Could you tell us some more information about counterparts? What are the most common and important reasons and purposes to meet counterparts in one's life? Is it to work on themes or to assist and support each other? Do we often fall in love with a counterpart and feel a sense of great familiarity when meeting them? And what specific emotions might we have when we meet them? Do you have any advice on how we can recognize counterparts? Are there specific traits?
In some senses, yes to all of it in general, because it can be any and all of those things. It doesn't have to be. As we have said, sometimes a counterpart can be someone who really pushes your buttons that you may not even really like, but they're serving the purpose of getting you to face certain things and helping you become more of who you are. Now, it doesn't take a counterpart to do that, but sometimes counterparts will come into your life to do those kinds of things. And the full range of emotions can be felt depending upon the theme of the counterpart and why you've attracted that particular counterpart into your life, what it is that it needs to remind you of as you explore yourself and become more of who you are. So it can really be any or all of those things. Just depends upon the circumstance and the theme that you're exploring.
Okay, thanks. This person is asking, how do I find my excitement? How can I help others find their excitement?
As we have said quite often, start small. Again, when we say follow your passion, follow your excitement, it's not a difficult thing to find at all. Asking the question today must obviously in some sense have been important to you, been part of your excitement to ask this question. So it's not hard to find that question. And therefore look around at the ordinary, as you say, typical things in your life that you're capable of acting on. Taking a walk, reading a book, eating a meal, talking to a friend, seeing a movie, what have you. Just look for the one that has even a little bit more excitement, attraction, curiosity to it, that you gravitate to for whatever reason, even if it's just a tiniest bit more attractiveness and excitement than any other choice that you're able to take an action on, and act on that one first. By continuing to do that, every time you come to a crossroads and say what to do next, just pick the thing, no matter what level it's on, that has more attractiveness, more excitement, more curiosity in it, that you're able to act on than any other thing, and then do that one next. So the idea is that if you keep doing that, you're always acting on your excitement. Excitement and passion doesn't mean you're jumping up and down or running around with your hair on fire. It can be a very simple, very peaceful process that gives you a continuation that can snowball into bigger and bigger things if you keep doing it from that level. But acting on your excitement and figuring out what your excitement is very simple if you keep it simple and don't think you have to start from some grand idea. Just everyday things can be representative of things that could excite you more than any other thing.